One of the purposes of a conclusionary ritual, whether it's a funeral, a memorial service, or a celebration of life, is to create an accurate memory picture of the person being honored. We want to do that today. We gather to mark the reality of Jordy's physical death. We know that the absence of her presence can be very overwhelming. This gathering is our way of mourning together in community and of honoring and marking the life of Jordy Glassner. Her illness unfolded gradually and ended suddenly. The glioblastoma took so much from her, but it could not take away her beautiful, pure heart and soul. It could not take away her beaming pride and deep love for being Brody's mom, or her devotion to Hank as his wife and partner. It could not touch her fierce love for her extraordinary family, or the deep, lasting friendships that mattered so much to her. It could not take away her sense of purpose, a deep commitment to easing the suffering of others. Jordy was an associate at our counseling center from 2017 to 2019. It's actually when she was Jordy Epstein. She was brilliant, caring, warm, and endlessly curious. She had a deep hunger to understand how to help others grow, heal, and shine. Later on, alongside Erica and Hank, Jordy defied glioblastoma through the podcast they created, Grief Street, reaching outward to ease others' grief, to foster connection, and to offer hope and love. This illness did not take away her capacity to love fully and deeply. In a moment, you'll hear from Jordy's mom, Sue, her brothers, Jonathan and Ari, her best friends, Alex and Erica, and her husband, Hank. They are just a few of the many people who loved her. Some are able to share their words today, and some are holding them privately. Through these memories, we honor the love and connection that lives in all of us who knew Jordy. And so, come on up. This is Jordy's mom, Sue, who will share a song with us.
This is how I used to do it. Is this on? Is this on? That's on. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm all good. First, I just want to say thank you for coming and for all the cards, the text messages, the food. I think Jordy has a forest now in Israel, and so, we hope to visit that one day soon. And just thank you for all the care and everything. So what you may not know about Jordy, who was our fearless warrior, is that she loved to sleep in our bed. She did not want to sleep in her own bed, and so by the time she was 6, I decided maybe I need to write a song, a lullaby, so that I can play it for her. She could sleep in her own bed. She had a nice room right down the hall from us. And so I wrote this song, and I played it for her, and she said to me, "That is the saddest song I ever heard. Don't ever sing it for me again." So that didn't work. And I said, okay, well, and I was in the middle of doing my second CD, and I said, well, do you think you would sing at least maybe on the CD with me? can I put it on there? And she agreed. So I didn't get to sing it for her to help her go to sleep. And by the way, it was another 4 years of me sleeping in her bed. But she outgrew that. So anyway, the song is called Close Your Eyes. This is for you, Jordy. Close your eyes, sleep tight. As I turn out the light, God is here, so am I. Close your eyes. Go to sleep, I am near. There is nothing to fear, God is here, so am I. Close your eyes. Lila Tove and good night. Everything's alright. I'm in your heart, you're in mine. Everything is just fine. Say your prayers, dream a dream. Things are not what they seem. It's okay, I'm by your side. Close your eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Please watch over her, God. Here's a kiss, now go to bed. Remember what I said, God is here, so am I. Close your eyes. Then I added this verse for today. You've drifted off to another place, filled with love and grace. God is here, so am I. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Sleep well, my sweet Jordy girl. I love you.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Jordy's brother, Jonathan.
I've never liked giving speeches, but this one will go down as a speech I've been the most reluctant to deliver. Not because I don't want to honor my sister, but because it forces me to face a reality I find difficult to accept. Typically, I wouldn't describe myself as an optimist. I'm more of a realist. Yet from the inception of Jordy's illness all the way up until her final weeks, I bizarrely expected Jordy to recover. I never envisioned standing here speaking to you all about her death. I guess I couldn't fathom it. But here we are. Jordy's gone, and her passing has left me with so many thoughts, feelings, and changes. Things that are difficult to process, like the fact that my brother and I only have each other now. There is no sister anymore. With Jordy being the youngest, there was a point in time where it was just Ari and I, and at the time, of course, it felt natural. But now it just feels wrong. Like a cruel joke where we've been pulled back in time, but with the awareness and love of a sibling we'll never meet again. It's tough. There are a lot of feelings. In fact, in the past 2.5 years, my family and I have probably run the full gamut of emotional experiences. We felt disbelief at Jordy's initial diagnosis, along with the anxiety and even hope during her subsequent treatments. We felt love and warmth during the birth of my daughter, which occurred not even a month after Jordy's first brain surgery. We felt joy and excitement during my brother's wedding, where Jordy bravely chose to attend despite not only having just recovered from her operation, but while shouldering the immense burden of knowing her time on earth was likely going to be cut short. And finally, we felt heartache and grief when she passed away just 4 days after her 34th birthday. Tomorrow will be a month she's been gone for. I still can't believe it, and I'm still in shock. Jordy was special. She was my little sister, but she wasn't so little. She had a big personality, a big heart, big dreams, a big work ethic and drive. She was a big-time doer and go-getter, and a big-time fighter. Jordy seemingly lived every day like it was her last, even before she had to. She loved the life that she had and the people she filled it with, and they loved her too. She had incredible friends that rallied behind her almost like an army, supporting and cheering her on every step of her journey. This is especially true of her closest friends, Alex and Erica, who spent countless hours comforting Jordy in her final moments. She had a rock of a husband in Hank, too, who from the start of Jordy's illness wore a ridiculous number of hats. Hank was the husband, the father, the breadwinner, the chef, the dog walker, the appointment maker, the driver, and of course, unfortunately, the caretaker. It was an absurd amount of responsibility for one person, and yet he never complained and he never broke under the pressure. He acted like a real man, and I'm confident he'll do everything in his power to keep Brody safe and feeling loved. And finally, Jordy had an extraordinary mother, my mom, who is the embodiment of what a loving, nurturing, and selfless parent can and should be. It's every parent's joy to give their child their first bites of food, and every parent's nightmare to give them their last. At the end of Jordy's life, when she became too weak to even feed herself, I watched my mom spoon-feed my sister her last bites of food with remarkable composure and affection. I remember Jordy saying, "Sorry, Mom," to which my mom replied, with a smile on her face, "It's okay, honey, I want to." That moment will be forever seared into my memory. It was so unbelievably touching and yet so profoundly heartbreaking. My mom's devotion to Jordy was exceptional. It's just a shame she was forced back into the caretaker role, a duty no parent should have to take up for a second time. Tragedies tend to highlight many of the truths of life we typically ignore. But Jordy's experience should make at least one thing clear. Life is unpredictable. In an instant, everything you have can be taken away. And sadly, it's only when this happens that all our so-called other problems melt away. Jordy didn't have 1,000 problems. She had only one. And unfortunately, no matter how hard she tried, she never found a solution for it. But she did face it with all with unbelievable grace and courage. She could have slunk away and hid in despair, but instead grabbed the pieces of her unraveling life and held them together out in the open for all to see. I think she did that not only because the acceptance of it all gave her peace, but because it gave it to us as well. Her attitude softened the blow. It was difficult to fall apart in the presence of such resilience. Jordy, you were so strong, so beautiful, and so wise. You deserved so much better, but still made the best of your situation in the most admirable way possible. I'm beyond grateful to have felt the positive touch you left on me, and I'm so proud you've inspired so many. I think about you daily and will cherish you always. Love you.
Thank you. Now, Jordy's other brother, Ari, will come up and speak.
All right. I've spent a lot of time these last few weeks thinking about writing this instead of actually writing this. It felt like an impossibly big responsibility. Jordy now exists only as our collective memory of her, and I was scared that if I misremembered a detail or couldn't quote her with 100% accuracy, that I would corrupt that memory, that I would damage what's left of her, because maybe then the next time you think of her, you'd think instead of something I told you she said, where maybe I got a word wrong. And then you wouldn't be thinking of her, but of something that wasn't quite her. But even if I got all the details right, what if that's all there is, just details? Like, this is a piece of writing, right? It needs to have a beginning that leads to a middle, that culminates in an end, that leaves you with meaning. How could I do that with a life, with my sister's life, when lives don't work that way? We don't end in some profound moment of dramatic catharsis, we just end. What if I just share a bunch of random anecdotes and they don't add up to anything, don't say anything in aggregate? And Jordy wanted a celebration of life instead of a funeral because she felt that funerals were bummers and she didn't want to get all her loved ones together for a bummer. I totally agree with the sentiment, but how am I supposed to write this without any of my grief seeping in, to leave everyone here with a smile or a laugh when losing her is the most painful thing I've ever experienced? I wished I could ask Jordy for advice about how to approach this. She was one of the people I'd want to talk to when I was at my most neurotic. Of course, then I'd feel guilty because she was a professional therapist and that was like asking her for free work, which is, probably part of the whole neurotic thing. Since any time I'd apologize for that, she would say, and that's where the fear comes in. I can't remember the exact words she'd use. So what do? Do I just never talk about her in case I make a mistake? Just leave the piece of her I have locked inside my head where no one else can get to it? She wouldn't want that. That's not the advice she'd give me if I were able to ask her. She'd say, so what? No one's memory is perfect. No one knows every single word everyone in their life ever said to them. Does that mean we should never talk about each other? Should we never share what we love about each other? She'd say, who's judging your writing in a memorial service other than you? So what if it's not a perfect essay? See, that's one of the things I loved about her. She wouldn't just tell you what to do if you asked her for advice. She'd ask questions where, when you answered them yourself, it immediately became clear what you should do. Her clients were lucky to have her as a therapist. I was lucky to have her as a sister. And if I told her I was afraid that I might say something sad when she wanted this to be a celebration, she would say, I'm not saying you shouldn't feel your feelings, be sad, just don't let the sadness drown out the good stuff. So I'm going to share some anecdotes here, and I might get some details wrong, and it might not all tie together neatly, and I might struggle to thread the needle on the emotional reaction I'm aiming for, and all of that terrifies me, but I'm going to listen to the imaginary version of Jordy in my head and not let any of that stop me. I've never been good at letting go. I have this tendency to imbue physical objects with sentimental meaning and to want to preserve them in mint condition, out of an irrational fear that my life would somehow be worse if they were damaged or lost or impossible to replace. Like, I had this rock collection as a kid. If I saw a rock that struck me as cool or interesting in some way, I'd put it in the empty Costco-sized Red Vines container that's probably still in my parents' closet and never take it out again. I've had action figures in their original packaging, gadgets I've never used, and comics I've never read, just afraid to damage them or use them up in case I couldn't get more. There was this time a few years ago when Cassie and I had Jordy and Hank over. While we were in the living room chatting, Jordy spotted a small box of movie trivia on our coffee table. She asked about it, and I said someone, probably someone here, gave it to me years ago. She asked if I had used it, and I said no. She asked why not. I don't know if I had an answer, but the point is she asked, we opened it, and while the details are fuzzy, I now have this memory from it, and my life isn't worse because the seal on the movie trivia has been opened. Back in 2014, after I moved to Irvine for a job, the family came to visit me. We were sitting around my apartment, and Jordy noticed the copy of Cards Against Humanity sitting on my shelf. It was the 2010s, after all. She asked if we wanted to play it. Oops, accidentally closed the tab. Just a sec. Scrolling. There we go. She asked if we wanted to play it. I asked if she was sure she wanted to play that game with our parents. She asked why not. So now I have Jordy to thank/blame for the experience of our parents asking us what tentacle porn is. And our parents enjoyed the experience enough that they ended up playing it shortly thereafter with their friends. Jonathan and I were in the kitchen with their new dog, Rosie, playing with a puppy, literally the most wholesome thing you could do in the world, when we heard our parents ask us from the other room what bukkake is. So we have Jordy to thank/blame for that experience too. And now so do you. And so does Adad Ariel. And some of you probably get to have a similar experience later tonight with your parents who are here now. Maybe a year or a year and a half ago, Jordy was telling me what she was planning for her body after she was gone. She said that she was going to use this service that would cremate her and then turn her ashes into rocks that would be given to her loved ones. She said, that way you don't have to go to a specific location to talk to me. You can just toss me into your backpack and take me with you. A literally limited edition, irreplaceable rock that comes with the maximum amount of sentimental meaning already baked in. Leave it to Jordy to find a way, even in death, to challenge me to confront the boundaries of my comfort zone. I know these stories don't capture everything Jordy was. That would be impossible for me to do in my allotted 8 minutes, and even if I had infinite time to speak, I wasn't there for every moment of her life or for every thought and feeling she had, and even if I somehow had been, I wouldn't have been able to remember all of it in perfect detail. It pains me so much to know that there are parts of her that have forever slipped away and all we have left are these fragments, but hopefully I've captured something here of who she was, something that matters. Since Jordy wanted this to be a celebration of the good parts, I'll close by saying, if I didn't listen to Jordy, I'd have an unopened box of movie trivia instead of a memory of playing movie trivia with my sister. If I didn't listen to Jordy, my parents would never have asked Jonathan and I what bukkake meant, and that would have been one less shared experience with my brother. And if I didn't listen to the imaginary version of Jordy in my head, the only version of her I have left now, I wouldn't have been able to share any of this with you, to give you another piece of her to hold on to. And I wouldn't have had the experience of having a legitimate reason to stand in front of family and friends in a synagogue that was also my preschool and say the words tentacle porn. So.
I love all the stories that come up. Okay, so now we're going to hear from Jordy's best friends, Alex and Erica.
My name is Alex, and I'm one of Jordy's best friends. When I sat down to write this, I was left in sheer panic because Jordy was always the one who held our memories. I'm going to read what I wrote to Jordy on our very last birthday we got to celebrate together, because for 28 birthdays, that's what we did. We wrote each other letters. My dearest Jordy, today is our 34th birthday, our day, the day that has tied us together since we were 6 years old, and I want to spend our birthday the only way that feels right. Sitting here with you, holding your hand, and telling you what you mean to me while you're still here to feel it. I keep going back to the first moment in first grade in Miss Blakely's class when everything started. She had us go around the room saying our names and birthdays, and when I said my birthday was January 9th, you did not believe another human could possibly share your birthday. So you made your mom confirm with my mom, and yes, two people could, in fact, share the same day. And in that tiny moment, the universe took two little girls and stitched them together. Matching birthdays, matching hearts, matching chaos, me, and calm, you, soul sisters forever. It didn't take long to realize there was rarely an Alex without a Jordy or a Jordy without an Alex. We were inseparable in the most ridiculous ways. Like that one time we decided to switch places. Every morning in second grade, we'd meet in the bathroom stalls, literally change clothes, dresses for overalls. I drew my beauty mark on your face, and we'd walk out like nothing happened. We were fully convinced our parents wouldn't notice, but of course they noticed. But then one glorious day, Jonathan and Megan, our siblings, played along, and we truly believed we had pulled off the greatest mission in the history of childhood. I think about us as little girls a lot, two complete opposites who somehow fit perfectly. People used to joke that I was the devil and that you were the angel, and honestly, we leaned in. When we were 8, we dressed up exactly like that on Halloween. I had the horns and the red face, and you had the halo, and it was funny because it was really true. And then there was that bet, that one you lost at 9 years old, and in pure Jordy fashion, you cut off your long, beautiful hair because you said you would. The most loyal child alive, like it was a binding contract. But that was you, Jordy, always true to your word. And you didn't outgrow it either. Even as adults, if you said you'd show up, you showed up. When I was pregnant with Rory, scared, alone, and not sure how I would be a single mom at 26, you promised me that you would be there. And you were. You planned my baby shower. You baked all the cookies from scratch. You took me to the mall the night before because nothing fit my body. You even canceled all of your patients for an entire week to sit with me in the hospital as I was being induced. You were the first friend to hold my baby. You have been the thread running through every chapter of my life. From my parents' divorce, to JCA camp shenanigans, to heartbreak, to illness, and literally every happy moment in between. There is a version of me that only exists with you. Like the first time we went to Chevy's for our birthdays. That's when our laugh attacks started. We would take the dough that they handed us, sneak into the bathroom, roll it up in a ball, and throw it up to see if it would fall, but onto other people in the next stall. I can still hear our giggles. For almost 3 decades, our birthdays meant Mexican restaurants, giant sombreros, and us ending up on the floor laughing. Our birthday wasn't just a date, it was a ritual. First with our families, then with our moms as our siblings went off to college, then Erica joined in, then boyfriends, husbands, and the best chapter yet, with our kiddos. Long before careers and partners and children, we were just 2 little girls who couldn't imagine a life without each other. The summer before 4th grade, when I was changing schools, we were so worried that our friendship wouldn't survive. So of course we decided to run away. We packed everything we could fit in a tiny suitcase and we just left the house. We made it maybe halfway down the block until someone found us. And we swore that we'd do it again one day, but smarter. So we started saving money in this fancy little box that we named Boxy. We saved over $1,200, and we were so proud. We were going to Hawaii, our special place, the vacation that we shared for so many summers, getting our toes nibbled on by fish in the pond, drinking peanut butter banana chocolate smoothies, and going down the water slides. We were completely convinced that all we needed was a little island and we'd be okay. But then the most tragic thing happened. My mom sold Boxy at a garage sale for $1. We were devastated. Somewhere out there, someone has Boxy, completely unaware it held our entire escape plan and every dream we had whispered into it. Jordy, our laugh wasn't entertainment, it was our lifeline. The open mouth, the silent scream, wheezing, tear-streaming laugh that made no sense to anybody else. We even laughed so hard during a wedding toast that Hank decided we were no longer allowed to sit next to each other. And somehow we even laughed during the last 2 years when GBM nearly took everything from you. But it didn't take your laugh. And now I hear pieces of it in Brody. And it feels like a gift that you left for me. Parenting next to you, Jordy, has been one of the greatest joys of my life. Rory and Brody, two little whirlwinds who acted like siblings, made us laugh endlessly. We'd sit across from each other at a weekly breakfast, watching them bounce off the walls, and we would just laugh because we didn't need words. You faced illness with courage that still takes my breath away. Even sick, even exhausted, even hurting, you were still taking care of everyone else around you. The essence of you, Jordy, always remains. You cracked jokes with nurses and caregivers. You made sure that all your people were okay. Like the day Rory's preschool shut down unexpectedly, I came to your house panicked and crying after Rory's first day at her new school. You were exhausted from chemo and you were hurting. And still, you took Rory from my arms, stepped into the shower with her, called for the dogs to wash them and have fun. You looked at me and said, "I've got her, you go have a cry." Even at your lowest, you protected the people you loved. You always knew what we needed before you asked. That was you, always wanting to be helpful. And I'll never forget sitting with you at Sky Zone while Rory jumped. We were crying and you looked at me and said, "That's why life is so beautiful, because even in pain, there's still so much joy." And we took a photo in that moment at Sky Zone, in full tears, laughing at the beautiful chaos of our lives. And even in your last moments, you were still doing this. You told all of us that you were okay, that you felt safe, and that you felt loved. And from the beginning of your diagnosis to the very end, you were always making sure everyone else was cared for. I will miss our siren laugh the most. That laugh heals. It has healed me my whole life. Calling what we had friendship doesn't come close. My birthday twin, my soulmate, my person. Happy birthday, my Jordy. I love you more than words can hold.
Jordy, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. My person, my confidant, my memory holder, my Jordy. How am I supposed to survive life without you? I don't know. It's okay. This is an unanswered question in my mind, but in reality, Jordy has already answered it because I've asked her this for the past 2 years. But now I'm left. Who will I call to talk about that silly therapist thing or the person I ran into from elementary school that only she will get? This void is indescribable. There is no replacement for Jordy. A few months ago, Sue, Jordy's mom, called me. Sue was very calm and was telling me about how she made friends as an adult, some of her closest friends, and that she knew it was possible for me too. But before Sue could even finish, I interrupted. "Sue, did Jordy have you call me?" I'm thinking, my best friend is dying, and yet she had it in her to tell her mom to call me and tell me I'm going to be okay. But this is Jordy. Jordy is unwaveringly loyal, steadfast, kind, silly, and loving. She also has the best singing voice and prefers dogs over people. Jordy has made me who I am. She has been embedded into the fabric of my life as long as I have memory. She has been there through every heartbreak, failed exam, therapy mishap, work debacle, fight with Ramsey, ex-boyfriends, and literally everything. Jordy and I met in 1997 in kindergarten and grew up only houses apart. We even hold our pencil in the same yet incorrect way. We became so close that Jordy could finish my sentence or know what I was about to say just by me thinking the thought. We had a saying, "Great minds think alike, woo!" We were annoyingly weird, yet so connected. When we were 10 years old and in gymnastics, I pooped my leotard. Full on. I was so embarrassed and asked Jordy to come to the bathroom with me, and we didn't know what to do. I was mortified to have the gym call my mom, so Jordy called hers. Everyone thought she pooped her pants, and she did that to spare me the embarrassment as her mom picked us up. In middle school, we were tasked with making a poster about what we can learn about our families by searching through our household trash. But we did not make a poster. Instead, Jordy and I filmed and edited a 45-minute video with 25 minutes dedicated to us dancing and singing. We got an A. As awkward tweens, we got to experience everything together. In high school, we threw a party at the rabbi's house, 0 out of 10 recommend. We filmed every inch of the house prior to moving all of the furniture to ensure a perfect restore the next morning. But naturally, our parents found out and we got grounded together. In college, each time she visited me, I'd force her to bring her guitar and sing to our friends. She visited so many times that on graduation, she was asked by some why she wasn't wearing a cap and gown, and they were floored to find out she did not go there. Jordy and I then became therapists, found our life partners, and got engaged and married. We experienced life parallel to one another. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, Shayla, she died in utero, and Jordy was there every day checking in on me, showing up even when she didn't know how. And when we were both pregnant at the same time, months later, I was terrified. It seemed too good to be true that our children would be born 10 weeks apart. After going through pregnancy trauma, I experienced the most beautiful motherhood journey alongside Jordy as she sucked the boogers out of my daughter Emma's nose. And I rocked Brody to sleep. I even made a silly song for him because he screamed and cried a lot, and making silly songs in my tone-deaf way is the only way I know how to cope. Then came our mom trips with Emma and Brody. The first trip, Brody was sleeping in his pack and play in the bathroom, leaving Jordy and I to brush our teeth and pee on the balcony of a 5-star hotel. For our next trip, we learned our lessons by opting for more rooms in an Airbnb. But it didn't matter. I got the stomach flu on the first night, and Jordy had to take care of both of our kids. I begged her to just leave me there. Instead, she promptly learned how to drive a Tesla and took me home. I'm devastated we will not have more of these trips. It's hard not to wonder, is a friendship like this too good to be true when she was stolen from this earth way too soon? I'm selfishly upset that I'll not get to grow old with my best friend and raise our children together. Brody was only 15 months old when Jordy was diagnosed with GBM, and suddenly our lives began to diverge. We both sold our condos and moved into bigger houses, but for very different reasons. I was preparing to welcome my son Ryan, while Jordy needed a one-story home as she faced brain cancer. And it never escaped me how similar our paths were until this moment. After Jordy's third brain surgery that left her half paralyzed, I tell her I felt guilty that I can move my left arm without thinking. I wondered if she was upset that her mobility was taken from her so quickly. The thing about Jordy is, she was never upset. When Alex and I called to talk about something trivial or inconsequential, Jordy listened, validated, and problem solved. But I would get angry that she had life-saving treatment problems instead of trivial ones. But for Jordy, she was just grateful to be alive and truly believed she had lived such a great life. In the last 2 months before Jordy died, she became more confused, her vision blurred, and texting was scarce. But then days after not texting, she texted me, "How can I be helpful today?" She built meaning by giving back and caring for those around her. Last year, when my son was hospitalized for asthma, and Jordy could barely get out of bed, she insisted on visiting me and Ryan. She and Hank brought me the best cookie from Bristol Farms and sat with me as I held my son who struggled to breathe. Jordy pushed herself beyond her physical and mental limits to show up. And 2 years ago, when she could no longer practice being a therapist, we created Grief Street. This podcast was Jordy's way of helping others feel heard and less alone. Jordy acted with such grace and gratitude literally up until the day she died, even thanking her caregiver when she could only whisper to talk. Because as I've said, GBM can take her left arm, her left leg, her memory, her voice, and her life, but it cannot take away the essence of Jordy. Her spirit is untouchable. Jordy, you are my person, and I feel the luckiest.
I also feel incredibly lucky to have been part of a trio, JAE, which stands for Jordy, Alex, and Erica. We all knew each other when we were 5 and 6, separately. But our bond truly formed in 2nd grade when we realized individually our relationships were good, but together they were even better. So we combined our names and became JAE.
JAE has been our home base. So as we've experimented throughout our lives, we've always had each other. Like the one time we got caught for smoking hookah and we all got grounded together. Or when Alex and I dated friends at summer camp, we were determined to find Jordy a boyfriend so we could date best friends. We have forever bracelets and tattoos on our bodies to prove it, but honestly, not even that comes close to capturing the gravity of our friendship.
JAE meant going on first dates for each other. Yes, Erica and Jordy went on a date for me to vet the guy out. It meant flying across the country so no one ever had to sit alone at a doctor's appointment. It meant singing our way through heartbreaks and writing secret notes, putting them into glass bottles, and sending them off into the ocean together. It meant jumping out of planes for one another just so the other could feel brave again after an ex-boyfriend breakup. It meant taking in each other's children for months without hesitation. It meant showing up when the other said not to come with hot Cheetos and cream cheese and peanut butter and chocolate. It meant crying in the arms of each other's moms. It meant generational grandma, mom, and child trips. And of course, professional family photos with all 3 families together, our little modern family.
But trios can be hard to navigate. We survived boyfriends we didn't like, interventions, and navigating our different opinions and world experiences. But we eventually came to call JAE our darkest hour friendship. Truly, the hardest part of our friendship was distance. In 9th grade, I moved out of the childhood neighborhood. My bed was the very last piece of furniture to go, as we sat in the empty house and refused to leave. The morning I left for college, Jordy, Alex, and I cried so hard that my mom told the driver, "You'd think someone had just died," based on how devastated we were. In grad school, when I moved to New York, Jordy, Alex, and Katie wrote me 52 letters, one for every single week, so I would never feel alone.
So yes, you can imagine what Jordy's death and this permanent physical distance has placed on JAE. But we said it all. There are no words left unsaid. When Jordy was towards the end of her life, she texted us and said, "I need my JAE counsel." And that sums it up right there.
But Jordy wants all of us to know that she is still here. She is the warmth on your face on a cold day and the cool breeze on a hot one. And I hope we don't just remember Jordy, I hope we live her essence each and every day.
Beautiful. Thank you. Come on up, Hank.
Bukkake reference and shitting your pants. I really have something to. I think I have to rewrite my speech. If you know Jordy, she hates attention. And I think she would be like crawling in her skin right now if she saw what was happening in person. Which is why when I thought about what I wanted to say, I tried to imagine what she would want me to say. Then I imagined what she would want to say. And the thing that she would want to say is just to be insistent on gratitude. So first, thank you to everybody here. Thank you to literally every single person here that I know, that I don't know, for the love, care, laughter, meals, calls, texts, presents, steady support. Over 34 years. Your love didn't just surround her, it carried her, especially within the last 2.5 years. Here's the part where I gently veer off script, because I'm going to talk about her. There was one person in the entire world who could turn a brain cancer diagnosis into a story about love, connection, community, and meaning. Only Jordy could take something so devastating and transform it into a mission, not for attention, but for others. She had a rare ability to speak to people in a way that felt effortless and deeply human. She made people feel seen, heard, understood, safe. And when her diagnosis became terminal, she didn't shrink, she leaned in. She used her voice, her platform, and her enormous heart to support people all over the world who are walking through similar darkness. That is who she was. Back to Jordy approved programming. There are some people she would absolutely insist that we thank. You might not know them, but I know that she would be insistent on thanking them. To everybody within the first 3 rows, you guys were the backbone of Jordy's world. You showed up in ways that were steady, practical, and profound. You held us together when things felt impossible, often without anyone even noticing the work that you were doing. That's the kind of love that lasts. Thank you to Leslie and Bianca and Norma Montez and the entire nursery community for loving Brody so fully and making sure he was cared for, celebrated, and held with warmth every single day. I'd like to thank whoever created the wheels on the bus and made it public domain so we could hear it approximately 76,000 times as the song of our caregiving journey. I'd like to thank a ton to Dr. Julia Bruckner for her incredible care and compassion. Thank you to the Curlin family for their steady presence and support from the second they learned about Jordy's diagnosis. Thank you to, of course, the combination of chocolate and peanut butter, which functioned as a remarkably reliable treatment during protocol during the toughest of days. Thank you to Jeff York, Michael Grimes, Stacy McCollum, Sawyer Adamitis, and the entire DK family for standing beside our family with loyalty, kindness, and consistency. And finally, thank you to, of course, Dracula the musical from the acclaimed 2008 motion picture Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which could always make Jordy laugh, even on the hardest of days. But ultimately, all of this gratitude circles back to one person. We're all here because of Jordy. So thank you, Jord. Thank you for your love, your humor, your brilliance, your loyalty, your fierce devotion to your family and friends, and your ability to make every single person feel like they mattered. Thank you, Jordy, for being the reason we're all standing here together today. We love you so damn much.
Yes, thank you, Jordy. I have a note to share with you that Sue shared with me. It is from her friend Barbara. So I'll read you the note. It says, "Dearest Sue, when my dad died 12 years ago, Jordy brought me a bag of memory stones. I knew they were meant for me to bring to the cemetery, to leave on my dad's headstone, but I could never bring myself to part with them. I loved them. And I loved that Jordy cared enough to bring me something so special. Keeping them close, reading their message, and holding them in quiet moments of sadness over the years brought me comfort in a way I didn't expect. And in the past couple of years, they have felt like a continued connection to Jordy. She was such an important part of our daily lives for so long, and I'm so grateful that we got to know her, to know what it felt like to be loved by her, and to see firsthand the depth of her character, the warmth of her soul, and the goodness of her heart. She was a bright light in an often dark world. Sue, your Jordy girl is, was, and always will be a blessing, and I thank God we had to share her. Now, one of the stones said, "I will love you, I will always love you forever." And another stone said, "Always in my thoughts." So thank you, Barbara. I want to share this piece. It's by John Polo, whose wife died very young as well. And so I've adapted it a little bit. It's called "Why We Talk About Them." We talk about them because we love them in life and in death. We talk about them because they are still a part of us and always will be. We talk about them because the love we shared and the loss we endured have shaped us into the person we are today. We talk about them because we find it therapeutic for our minds, for our hearts, for our souls. We talk about them because it helps us, and we hope it will help others. We hope it will help others. We talk about them because the memories make us happy, and we need to feel that. We talk about them because the memories make us sad, and we need to feel that. We talk about them because we want the world to know the struggle of cancer, of suicide, of drug addiction, of heart disease, of sudden death, of terminal illness, the struggle of loss. We talk about them because we want you to appreciate what you have. Because in hindsight, we realize we may not have. We talk about them because they are still ours, and we are still theirs. We talk about them because in the day-to-day grind that is life, we sometimes feel them drifting away, and we know that talking about them will make us feel closer to them today. We talk about them because we want to. We talk about them because we need to. And sometimes we talk about them because nobody else is. It is now our responsibility to carry on their legacies. We talk about them because we take that responsibility very seriously. We talk about them because we refuse to let them be forgotten. Now, before we move into the final song that we'll end with, that Sue's going to share with us, we want to acknowledge everyone who is sharing in this moment. Those of us here in the room, those of us joining on screen, those of us who might watch or listen later. However and wherever you are, that you're here, your presence and your love matter. As we go on from today, may we continue to share stories of Jordy with one another, and especially with Hank and her son Brody, so that as he grows, he is surrounded by the many, many ways his mom was known, loved, and cherished. Thank you.
I would like to ask everybody to please stand. And, and we're all brought together by Jordy. And so if you will kind of just reach out your arms and put your arms around each other. I always said she was a pollinator. She knew how to bring people together. This is a song called Tefilat HaDerech, which means like a blessing for your journey. So. Guide our steps, light our way, help us be strong. Lechaim, lesimcha, leshalom. Keep the ones whom we love secure from the storm. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Bless the work we have done, all our hopes, all our dreams. Lechaim, lesimcha, leshalom. Watch over us as we go, and in peace bring us home. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. May we all continue to feel Jordy all around us. Lechaim, lesimcha, leshalom. And may all the love and goodness that you put in this world continue to ripple out for generations to come. Lechaim, lesimcha, uleshalom. Say amen. Amen, 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 amen. Watch over us as we go, and in peace bring us home. Thank you all for coming.